In the dawn's like boots on the ground, the leaves crunch beneath as we head down. There's something about the woods and for the peace that quietly heed the call. Won't you join me on this trail, dear, where the deer stand tall and the air so clear?
You're listening to my favorite podcast, The Big Buck Registry.
Big Buck Registries.
Big Buck Registries.
Big Buck Registries.
The Big Buck Registries Deer Hunt Podcast.
Happy New Year, fellow hunters, and welcome to the January 2025 edition of the Big Buck Registries Deer News you might have missed over the last few months. First, Jim covers a centuries-old hunting tradition in Mississippi that faces legal battles and calls for reform. Are property rights and tradition on a collision course? Next, Dusty discusses deer hunting in Ohio, which just hit a 13-year high. What's driving the surge, and what does it mean for hunters and wildlife? I dive into big changes coming to Pennsylvania's hunting regulations in 2025. Find out how they could reshape wildlife management and your next hunt. Jim jumps into how Missouri is tackling chronic wasting disease head-on with a bold new rule. Will this be the game-changer hunters and conservationists need? Dusty heads to Montana's Flathead Valley to investigate how a landfill has become ground zero in the fight against chronic wasting disease and why are wildlife officials stepping in. I travel to Maine, where a town is divided over its growing deer problem. Tick-borne illnesses, car crashes, and unconventional solutions are sparking heated debates. Jim head to his home state and discusses how Grand Rapids is weighing a bold experiment to curb urban deer, archery hunting in city limits. Can it strike the right balance? Dusty sums up a poaching case where an Ohio poacher gets hit with a record-breaking $43,000 fine for illegally killing a trophy deer. How did he get caught, and what does this mean for hunters? And I wrap up with a story about how an illegally killed deer in New York ends up feeding families in need. Can this unique twist on enforcement inspire better conservation practices?
Now here's Jim Keller with the Deer News.
Debate over deer dog hunting in Mississippi, a tradition under legal scrutiny. Deer dog hunting, a tradition with deep roots in American history, has become a contentious topic in Mississippi. The practice, legal in only 9 states, involves hunters using trained dogs to track and chase deer. While some view it as a cherished pastime, others see it as a source of conflict, particularly regarding property rights and land use. Hunting with dogs has been a part of American heritage since the nation's founding. George Washington himself maintained a collection of hounds for fox hunting. However, modern deer dog hunting has grown more controversial, with debates centering on the balance between tradition and landowner rights. The Mississippi Supreme Court recently addressed these tensions in a landmark case. In 2020, Prentiss County landowners, the Dickersons, filed a lawsuit against their neighbors, the Allens, accusing them of allowing hunting dogs to trespass on their property. Despite repeated complaints to the local sheriff, the Dickersons saw no resolution until they turned to the courts. A lower court ruled in favor of the Dickersons, issuing an injunction to prevent the Allens' dogs from entering their property. This decision was upheld by the Mississippi Supreme Court in May 2024. Justice Leslie King noted that the case represented a clash between two fundamental rights, the right to the quiet enjoyment of property versus the right to hunt and harvest wildlife. The ruling marked the first instance of a hunting dog being legally classified as a nuisance in Mississippi. Greg Beard, attorney for the Dickersons, emphasized the significance of the case but pointed out the gaps it highlighted in regulating deer dog hunting. The Dickersons had to take matters into their own hands because there was no other remedy, Beard explained, adding that the Allens technically broke no criminal laws. The decision underscored the complexities surrounding deer dog hunting in the state. Currently, there is no comprehensive system to address disputes like this one, leaving landowners and hunters to navigate a legal gray area. Some hunters agree that the practice needs stricter regulation. Preston Sullivan, a hunter and founder of the Rural Property Rights Association of Mississippi, has long advocated for a permit system to address such conflicts. In 2011, Sullivan successfully lobbied for a permit system in the Homachito National Forest, but similar efforts have not gained traction statewide. "We're hunters too," Sullivan said, "but property rights take precedence over hunting rights. The debate extends beyond hunting enthusiasts and property owners. Wildlife management experts argue that deer dog hunting, when unregulated, can disrupt ecosystems and endanger non-target species. Meanwhile, proponents of the tradition argue that it fosters community bonds and connects people to their cultural heritage. As Mississippi grapples with these issues, stakeholders on all sides agree that a balanced solution is necessary. Enhanced regulations, such as statewide permit systems or stricter enforcement of trespassing laws, could help reconcile the interests of hunters and landowners. Public forums and community engagement initiatives may also play a crucial role in finding common ground. In the meantime, cases like the Dickersons highlight the need for clearer legal frameworks to address the conflicts inherent in deer dog hunting. For Mississippi, preserving its rich hunting traditions while respecting property rights will require thoughtful dialogue and policy innovation.
Ohio deer hunting numbers surged to 13-year high. Ohio's deer hunting season has witnessed an extraordinary resurgence, with the latest Gun Week results breaking records not seen since 2011. Between the opening day on December 2nd and its conclusion on December 8th, hunters checked a remarkable 87,192 deer. This figure marks a dramatic 24.4% increase from last year's total of 70,103 and is the highest Gun Week tally since 90,282 were recorded in 2011. Among Ohio's 88 counties, 83 experienced at least a 10% increase in their Gun Week harvest compared to the 3-year average. Central Ohio saw significant activity. Licking County led the region with 1,860 deer checked. Fairfield County followed with 900. Delaware County recorded 495, Union 472, Pickaway 458, and Madison 255. Franklin County was an outlier, with its 150 deer checked falling below the 3-year average of 170. However, the 7 counties combined registered 712 more deer than their previous 3-season averages. The jump in harvest numbers can be partly attributed to changes in bag limits. Counties such as Pickaway and Madison were upgraded from 2 deer limits to 3 deer limits for the 2023-24 season. Similar changes in Fayette, Greene, Clinton, and Butler counties contributed to the overall increase, but don't fully explain the dramatic statewide upswing. Ohio's total deer harvest for the season, as of December 10th, stands at 189,970, already surpassing the full season totals for 2013 through 2019. With Gun Weekend, December 21st through 22nd, and muzzleloader season, January 4 to 7 still to come, the final numbers are poised to exceed last season's total of 213,928. Projections suggest this year's harvest could rival or surpass the peak years between 2006 and 2010, when annual totals averaged 244,500. Ohio's deer management policies have undergone significant shifts over the past 2 decades. During the late 2000s, high deer densities led to increased crop damage, prompting the Ohio Farm Bureau to advocate for population control. The Division of Wildlife responded by liberalizing hunting regulations, resulting in a sharp decline in harvest numbers by 2014. By 2015, reduced hunter satisfaction and declining permit sales prompted the state to reverse course, reinstating stricter limits. Recent years have seen gradual loosening of these restrictions, culminating in this season's notable harvest surge. Despite the growing deer harvest, permit sales remain below their historic peaks. Hunters purchased 624,909 permits in 2009, compared to just 404,331 as of December 8th this year. While slightly above the 6-year average, these numbers highlight a potential disconnect between hunting participation and the increasing deer population. As the season progresses, Ohio hunters will likely set new records. Archery hunting continues through February 2nd, adding further to the total. Meanwhile, wildlife managers will monitor the impact of this year's liberalized limits on both hunter satisfaction and deer population dynamics. The results could inform future policy adjustments, striking a balance between population control, hunter engagement, and ecological health. For Ohio's hunters, this season is already one for the record books. With weeks of opportunity remaining, 2024-25 could mark a turning point in the state's wildlife management history.
Pennsylvania prepares for major hunting rule changes in 2025. Pennsylvania's hunting community is abuzz with anticipation as the Pennsylvania Board of Game Commissioners considers significant changes to the state's hunting regulations for 2025. These proposed updates aim to modernize wildlife management practices while addressing long-standing challenges related to deer overpopulation, agricultural damage, and equitable hunting opportunities. The proposals under consideration reflect a comprehensive approach to balancing conservation goals and the interests of hunters and landowners. Key changes include the revised Ag Tag program proposes extended hunting seasons and streamlined permit processes. These updates aim to provide landowners with more tools to manage deer populations that cause significant damage to crops and property. In response to urban deer overpopulation, wildlife management units, WMUs, 5C and 5D, which cover densely developed areas in southeastern Pennsylvania, may see an increase in the availability of antlerless deer licenses. This measure seeks to reduce deer-human conflicts and promote safer coexistence. Proposed regulations would cap the number of elk hunting licenses issued to non-residents. Non-residents would also need to purchase a qualifying Pennsylvania hunting license before applying for an elk tag. These changes aim to prioritize local hunters while managing the growing demand for elk hunting opportunities. Not all proposals gain traction. Suggestions that will not move forward include a universal antlerless deer license, valid across multiple WMUS, introducing an early archery season for antlerless deer, expanding muzzleloader usage in specific programs, adjustments to mentored youth hunting rules for children under 7 years old. The proposed changes are part of a larger initiative led by the Wildlife Management Committee to modernize hunting regulations. The committee resumed work this fall, focusing on issues such as agricultural crop damage, urban deer populations, and the increasing demand for elk hunting licenses. These efforts aim to ensure sustainable wildlife management while preserving Pennsylvania's hunting traditions. The Pennsylvania Board of Game Commissioners is set to review these proposals during its January 24th to 25th, 2025. Meeting at the Commission's Harrisburg headquarters, public input will play a crucial role in shaping the final decisions, and stakeholders are encouraged to participate in the discussion. Interested individuals can replay the Wildlife Management Committee's virtual discussion on the Pennsylvania Game Commission's YouTube channel, or stay updated through the Commission's official website. As these potential changes could reshape hunting and trapping seasons in the state, the board emphasizes the importance of community engagement. Whether you're a hunter, landowner, or wildlife enthusiast, now is the time to share your thoughts and help shape the future of Pennsylvania's hunting traditions. The outcome of these deliberations will have far-reaching implications, marking a pivotal moment in the state's approach to wildlife conservation and outdoor recreation.
Missouri proposes rule change to combat chronic wasting disease in deer population. The Missouri Department of Conservation, MDC, is considering a significant rule change for the 2025 deer hunting season to simplify regulations and enhance efforts to combat chronic wasting disease, CWD. The proposed adjustments could affect thousands of hunters statewide and aim to address the challenges posed by this fatal disease. A 100% fatal disease affecting deer and other cervids has been a growing concern in Missouri for over a decade. The disease, caused by infectious prions, spreads through saliva, urine, feces, and carcass remains. To mitigate its impact, the MDC has expanded the CWD management zone to include nearly 20 additional counties over the past year, reflecting the disease's increasing prevalence. Under the current rules, hunters in CWD management zone counties are restricted from transporting deer carcasses outside the county of harvest unless the animal is taken to a licensed meat processor, taxidermist, or CWD sampling station within 48 hours. These regulations, established 4 years ago, were designed to limit the potential spread of CWD to unaffected areas. However, as CWD cases have expanded geographically, the number of hunters impacted by these transport restrictions has significantly increased. Hunters and wildlife managers alike have expressed concerns about the logistical challenges posed by the current system. The MDC is now proposing to rescind the carcass transport restrictions and replace them with statewide carcass disposal regulations. Under the new rules, hunters would be allowed to transport harvested deer to any destination within Missouri for processing. The proposal also mandates proper disposal of unused carcass parts either on the property where the deer was harvested or through landfill or trash services. According to Jason Isabel, MDC's Cervid program supervisor, the proposed changes aim to simplify the process for hunters while maintaining efforts to prevent the spread of CWD. It would also make it easier for hunters who process their own deer to be able to move the animal back to their home to do the processing versus having to do the deboning at the harvest site, Isabel explained. The MDC is inviting public feedback on the proposed regulation changes. Comments can be submitted online from February 19th to March 20th, 2025. Public input will play a crucial role in shaping the final decision. If implemented, the new regulations are expected to ease the burden on hunters while ensuring proper carcass disposal to reduce the risk of CWD transmission. This approach reflects a balance between practical hunting needs and conservation goals. By adapting to the evolving landscape of CWD management, Missouri aims to preserve its deer population and protect the hunting traditions integral to the state's culture and economy. Hunters and wildlife enthusiasts are encouraged to stay informed and participate in the public comment period to help shape the future of deer management in Missouri. The outcome of this proposal could set a precedent for other states grappling with the challenges of CWD.
Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks, FWP, has announced plans to cull white-tailed deer at the Flathead County landfill as part of ongoing efforts to manage and contain chronic wasting disease, CWD, in the Flathead Valley. This operation reflects the state's proactive stance in protecting its wildlife populations from the spread of this fatal disease. CWD was first detected in Montana in 2017. In October 2024, a symptomatic buck at the landfill tested positive for CWD, the first detection in Hunting District 170. Subsequent testing revealed 9 additional positive cases among deer congregating at the landfill, underscoring the urgency of containment efforts. The Flathead County landfill, located along U.S. Highway 93 north of Kalispell, attracts deer with its abundance of food waste. This congregation site increases the likelihood of disease transmission among deer and poses challenges for broader containment strategies. Congregation sites like the landfill are particularly concerning because they create opportunities for CWD to spread more quickly, said a spokesperson for Montana FWP. Reducing the population in these areas is a necessary step to mitigate the risk. Wildlife officials have begun euthanizing deer entering the landfill to reduce high-density populations in a controlled manner. The operation follows strict safety and ethical guidelines and will continue until further notice. All culled deer are tested for CWD to monitor the disease's prevalence and inform future management strategies. FWP has emphasized that proper disposal of carcass parts is crucial in preventing environmental contamination. Hunters are advised to use Class II facilities, such as the Flathead County landfill, for safe carcass disposal, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommend against consuming meat from CWD-positive animals. The decision has drawn mixed reactions from local residents. Many support the culling as a necessary step to protect wildlife and prevent the spread of CWD, while others have raised ethical concerns about killing deer near a public facility. I understand the need to control CWD, but these measures need to be part of a broader, long-term strategy, said one Kalispell resident. FWP officials assure the public that this action is one component of a comprehensive plan that includes ongoing surveillance, habitat management, and public education. As of December 2024, Montana has reported 321 CWD-positive cases from nearly 9,000 samples collected statewide. The Flathead Valley operation is part of a larger effort to curb the disease's spread and protect Montana's valued wildlife resources. FWP encourages residents to report sick or dead deer and to avoid feeding wildlife, as artificial congregation can exacerbate disease transmission. Additionally, the agency is seeking public cooperation in adhering to disposal guidelines and participating in educational programs about CWD. The culling operation at the landfill is expected to continue into 2025, with regular updates provided by FWP. By addressing congregation sites like the landfill, Montana aims to set a precedent for effective and science-based CWD management practices nationwide.
The town of Southwest Harbor, Maine, is grappling with a rising deer population, which has led to growing concerns about tick-borne illnesses like Lyme disease, a higher incidence of deer vehicle collisions, and broader environmental challenges. Local officials and residents are exploring potential solutions, though consensus on a definitive course of action remains elusive. At a recent select board meeting, residents expressed frustration over the growing number of deer and the associated health and safety risks. Lyme disease, linked to the deer tick, remains a primary concern, along with the rising number of vehicle-deer collisions. "We're seeing more deer than ever before, and the risks are becoming harder to ignore," said a local resident during the meeting. The Southwest Harbor Select Board initially considered an ordinance to prohibit residents from feeding deer, aiming to reduce deer congregation in urban and suburban areas. However, after deliberation, the board decided not to move forward with the ordinance. The next step perhaps could be we have a wildlife biologist come in to talk to us. There's also research on doing birth control for deer, so that's a possibility. Or, as some people have said, do nothing, and the deer will take care of themselves, said Carolyn Ball, chair of the Southwest Harbor Select Board. Several ideas were proposed at the meeting to address the deer population problem. Wildlife biologist consultation. The town plans to bring in experts to provide data-driven insights on managing deer overpopulation effectively. Deer fertility control. Research into birth control methods for deer is being considered as a non-lethal option, though the feasibility and costs of such programs remain uncertain. Reinstating hunting. Some residents propose lifting the current ban on hunting within town limits, which could serve as a traditional and effective way to manage the population. However, the Select Board emphasized the need for more data before making a decision. Opinions among residents remain divided. While some favor proactive measures, such as reinstating hunting or enacting feeding bans, others argue for a more hands-off approach, believing the population will self-regulate over time. Hunting has always been part of Maine's history. It might be the simplest solution, but it's not something we can rush into without careful consideration, one resident commented. The Southwest Harbor Select Board plans to revisit the issue after consulting with wildlife experts and gathering additional data. Public engagement will remain a critical component in shaping the town's approach to managing its deer population. As Southwest Harbor grapples with this issue, the outcome of these discussions could influence other communities in Maine facing similar challenges. The balancing act between wildlife management, public safety, and community values underscores the complexity of addressing overpopulation in a modern context.
The city of Grand Rapids, Michigan, is considering a pilot program to address its increasing urban deer population. The initiative would permit archery hunting of antlerless deer on city-owned property, aimed at mitigating property damage and public safety risks caused by the growing deer population. Grand Rapids has witnessed a significant rise in deer-related complaints from residents over the past 2 years. Issues include increased instances of deer grazing on private property, damage to vegetation, and a surge in deer vehicle collisions. In 2023, Kent County, where Grand Rapids is located, recorded 2,171 deer vehicle crashes, the highest in the state. Residents who used to see 2 or 3 deer in their yard are now seeing 8, 9, or even 10, said James Hurt, managing director for the city's public services group. It's become more than just a nuisance, it's a safety concern. The city has identified a 12-acre forested property at 960 Bristol Avenue Northwest as the site for the proposed hunt. The program would. Method: allow archery hunting only with firearms prohibited. Target: focus on antlerless deer exclusively. Duration: run from January 1st to 31st, 2025. Safety measures: hunters must maintain a 30-yard distance from property lines and a 150-yard distance from any building. The Michigan chapter of the National Deer Association has offered to assist with registering hunters and conducting background checks. Signage and communication with nearby residents would ensure safety and transparency. Grand Rapids' proposal draws inspiration from similar programs in Michigan. Kent County currently allows archery hunting for deer and turkey at 3 county parks, while Meridian Township's hunting program, launched in 2011, has successfully managed local deer populations with community support. Feedback on the proposed hunt has been mixed. Online reactions have been largely negative, with concerns about safety and ethical considerations. However, a community meeting held on December 2nd revealed more support for the initiative, as residents recognized the need for proactive deer management. James Smith, a resident near the proposed site, expressed opposition, stating, "They don't need to hunt. It's a residential area." If the pilot hunt does not proceed, Grand Rapids may consider educating private property owners about safe hunting practices. Collaborating with the National Deer Association, the city could help residents manage deer populations on private land while maintaining safety and compliance with local regulations. The Grand Rapids Public Safety Committee is expected to discuss the proposal further in December 2024. If approved, the pilot program could commence in January 2025, potentially serving as a model for urban deer management in other communities. The balancing act between public safety, wildlife preservation, and community values remains at the heart of the city's decision.
In a landmark case for wildlife conservation, Christopher C.J. Alexander, a 28-year-old from Wilmington, Ohio, has been fined over $43,000, the largest penalty ever imposed in the state for a single deer, after illegally killing an 18-point white-tailed buck. The case underscores Ohio's commitment to preserving its natural resources and maintaining ethical hunting practices. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources (ODNR) investigation revealed that Alexander trespassed on private property in November 2023 to poach the trophy buck. To deceive authorities, he falsified hunting records and used fraudulent means to claim the deer as a legal harvest. The buck, valued at $27,904 under Ohio's restitution formula for its antler size, became central to the case. Alexander's accomplices, including his sister Christina M. Alexander and associates Corey and Zachary Honert, also faced legal repercussions. All parties entered plea agreements, receiving fines, community service, and license revocations. Christopher Alexander pleaded guilty to 14 charges, including felony counts of theft by deception and tampering with evidence, as well as misdemeanors related to hunting violations. His penalties included fine, over $43,000 in restitution, the highest ever for a single deer in Ohio, jail sentence, 6 months with 90 days suspended, license revocation, a 10-year hunting license suspension, community control, 5 years of probation. These severe penalties reflect Ohio's resolve to deter poaching and uphold wildlife conservation laws. White-tailed deer are an iconic species in Ohio, contributing significantly to the state's ecology and economy. Ethical hunting practices are critical to maintaining healthy deer populations and ensuring sustainable wildlife management. ODNR Director Mary Mertz emphasized the importance of accountability, stating, "This case sends a strong message that poaching will not be tolerated in Ohio." Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost also highlighted the reputational damage such illegal activities cause to the state's respected sportsmen and women. Community tips played a crucial role in the investigation, showcasing the importance of public involvement in wildlife conservation. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources encourages residents to report suspicious hunting activities through its anonymous tip line, ensuring that violators are held accountable. The harsh penalties in this case align with a national trend of cracking down on wildlife crimes. Across the United States, agencies are imposing stiffer penalties to deter illegal hunting and protect vulnerable species. The record-breaking fine and legal consequences imposed on Christopher J. Alexander stand as a testament to Ohio's dedication to conservation and ethical hunting. As wildlife agencies continue to strengthen enforcement and public awareness grows, cases like this highlight the collective effort required to protect the nation's natural heritage.
On December 7, 2024, officers from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, seized an illegally killed deer in Prattsville, New York, and donated it to a venison donation program, benefiting those in need. The incident highlights the ongoing efforts to combat illegal hunting practices while addressing food insecurity in the state. DEC Environmental Conservation Officer ECO Lucas Palmatier responded to a complaint of illegal deer feeding on a Prattsville property. Upon interviewing the property owner, Palmatier discovered that the man had placed corn to attract deer, a practice prohibited by DEC regulations, and had shot a buck at the baited location the day prior. The property owner admitted to transporting the deer to a butcher in Catskill. Further questioning revealed that this was the property owner's second buck of the season, and he had improperly used his daughter's hunting permit to tag the harvest. New York State hunting laws permit hunters to take only one buck during the big game rifle season. Lieutenant Anthony Glorioso accompanied Paul Matier in the investigation, visiting the butcher shop to verify the report. Glorioso identified and seized the second buck as evidence. The confiscated deer was then processed and donated to a venison donation program. The DEC partners with Feeding New York State during hunting season to help combat food insecurity. Through this partnership, hunters across the state donate between 50,000 and 70,000 pounds of venison annually, providing protein-rich meals to families in need. The seized deer in this case contributed to these efforts, turning an illegal act into an opportunity for community support. The property owner received multiple tickets for using another person's tag, taking more than the permitted number of white-tailed deer, hunting with the aid of pre-established bait, illegal take of white-tailed deer. These violations are returnable to the town of Prattsville court, where the individual will face potential penalties. The DEC emphasizes the importance of adhering to hunting regulations designed to maintain ecological balance and public trust. Illegal practices such as baiting and exceeding harvest limits not only harm local ecosystems but also undermine the integrity of lawful hunting activities. Programs like Feeding New York State underscore the positive impact of ethical hunting, allowing hunters to support conservation efforts and community well-being simultaneously. For more information on ethical hunting practices and venison donation programs, visit the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation website or the Feeding New York State page.
That concludes this month's edition of the Big Buck Registry's Deer News. If you have any ideas for future topics or have questions about any of these topics, please email me at jim@bigbuckregistry.com.
I'm Dusty Phillips.
I'm Jim Keller.
And I'm J. Scott Ammon. And thank you for tuning in to the Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunt podcast. We can be found on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you would like to support us and our cause, please consider buying some merchandise off of our merch page by visiting www.bigbuckmerch.com. Catch you next time, and good luck in the deer woods.
As we move on with hearts so strong, echoes of nature sing our song. In every rustle, a story's told of days gone by and hunts of old. Listening close to Deer Hunt by the Big Buck Registry, sharing tips and tales, it's where we ought to be.